New for 2025, Alienware have completely redesigned their laptop range and have given us humans a premium 18-inch powerhouse. Fitted with the latest 275HX CPUs and NVIDIA's 5000 range of GPUs with a combined load of 280 watts. An otherworldly fresh design and colour scheme with subtle new RGB lighting zones, cryo chamber with Gorilla Glass panel under the laptop so you may gaze mesmerisingly at the fans, and at last a bright 500 nit display. But is this heavyweight worth your hard-earned money? Keep watching to find out. Hi, this is David at MASH IT, and welcome to our review of the Alienware 18 Area-51. Now I want to quickly apologise about my voice. I have got a terrible cold, but obviously everyone is waiting for this review, so I'm just going to push straight on with it. Now we've already done an unboxing of this laptop, so I'm going to put that link down below just in case you want to see our first impressions of this laptop. But in case you haven't, here it is, the new Alienware 18 Area-51 in its new liquid teal colour scheme. And I have to be honest, I absolutely love just how good this laptop looks. Alienware have come out swinging this year after a lacklustre couple of releases, in my opinion. Now the specs of the model that I'm reviewing today, we've got the Intel Core Ultra 275HX with an NVIDIA RTX 5080 graphics card. It's also got a 2TB SSD and 32GB of fast 6400 RAM, obviously an 18-inch 2560 by 1600 500 nit display, Wi-Fi 7 and a 96 watt-hour battery, all for the very cheap price of £3,699 in the UK. So it is premium and it is expensive, but let's take a quick look around this heavy beast. Now you're probably not going to be taking this thing to Starbucks at the weekend, but the good news is the laptop is built like an absolute tank in Alienware fashion, and it should when it weighs about 4.3 kilograms. Also, this is an unapologetically large chassis with extended rear grille and a chunky thickness to house large fans and provide plenty of airflow. You can see that we've got vents on both sides and the rear exhaust. Now we've got intake in through the keyboard and from underneath, so there's plenty of airflow on this large laptop. And underneath we can see the unique Gorilla Glass panel covering the cryo chamber and fans. Now the RGB glow through these fans and show through this glass and also through the vent holes on top of the palm rest. Now Alienware have made some good decisions with the ports this year. Now they've now moved the headset jack and the memory card to the left side and put the rest of the ports on the rear. This is great. Having had plugged memory cards and headsets into the rear of my X16 last year, I'm really pleased to have them back on the sides. Now I do wish they'd have put a USB-C or a USB-A on the side ports, but the port section is pretty plentiful, with a power jack, 2 Thunderbolt 5 ports, 3 USB-A ports, a 5GB RJ45 and an HDMI 2.1 across the rear of this venting system. Now the chassis is mostly metal with this liquid teal coating. It looks and feels fantastic, but as always, it's a fingerprint magnet. Make sure you've got your cloth handy. And on the rear grille, we've got a translucent dark plastic that allows a soft glow with this alien lighting through it. It looks very subtle, but looks fantastic in my opinion. The colours and the effects of this strip can be personalised within the command centre. As always, we get the lit alien head as well as another lighting zone. And Dell have decided to make this laptop ergonomically friendly with all these rounded edges. I thought at first this was going to be marketing BS, but having used this laptop for a while now, I really appreciate it. It's actually comfortable to hold, which is a plus given its weight. And the palm rest is really comfortable to rest your wrists on. Gone is a soft touch finish, and honestly, I'm not bothered by this because this liquid teal feels great and will wear far better than the soft touch finish, which was actually a grease magnet. The palm rest on this 18-inch is roomy with a large, slightly off-centered touchpad. The pad is glass, feels premium, tracks well, and best of all, it lights up. There's the actual rainbow wave effect. As we move to the keyboard, we get a comfortable keyboard with an actual number pad. You can choose between the standard dome switches and the cherry mechanical switches. Now I've used both, and although I prefer the actual mechanical switches, this year I did buy the dome keyboard so that I could get the UK layout with a UK enter key. The keyboard is a per key backlit keyboard with 2 stages of brightness, controllable with just one button here, which is handy, or within the command center. We also get dedicated volume buttons over on the side here, some macro buttons, and we get an actual stealth and a performance button just over here. Now the stealth I absolutely love. It turns off all the lighting zones and puts the actual keyboard just to a white backlight, which is very handy if you're taking it into an office or you don't want those distracting RGB when you're working. Now the performance key on the other hand, I'm on batteries, it probably won't work, but the performance key cranks it up a notch. It puts your fans up, well actually it's going to work. It puts your fans up loud, it puts all your RGB back on, and this is the real performance mode if you don't want to go into Command Center. Now lastly, on the right hand side of the keyboard we do get the power button. Sadly they got rid of that alien head, but at least with the power button you can see by the colour whether you're on battery or mains. Because it's showing yellow, I'm actually on battery at the moment. Now moving up to the screen, and there's some good and bad news here. We finally get an 18-inch bright 500 nit 2560 by 1600 300Hz display. The screen does look great, but it is IPS. I know many here are going to be disappointed expecting mini LED on such an expensive laptop. Now I never understand why Dell do not offer more than one screen option, maybe keep the actual IPS on the base model and a mini LED as an upgradable option. Also, the bezels around the screen are quite large for 2025, and I did get a very tiny amount of IPS glow in some of the corners when I boot the laptop up, but as soon as I get to window, it's never noticeable. But if you can get past the fact that this is an IPS screen, it is very speedy and it's a great panel and very bright panel to use when you're gaming, and I love that 18-inch size. Now above the screen, we get that upgraded 4K webcam, which looks like this. So this is the new upgraded 4K camera on the Alienware 18 Area-51. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this new webcam. Do you reckon it looks a lot better? It is 4K now apparently. Let me know what you think. And it also includes Windows Hello facial recognition, which accurately scans your face and logs you in very quickly. You notice we have speaker grills either side for the upward firing speakers. Let's quickly check what they sound like. Speaker test of the Alienware 18 Area-51 starting at 50% volume. Now 80%. And 100%. Right, so now we've looked all around this laptop, let's rip this base plate off and take a look inside. Now, opening the base plate does take a little effort. You'll need to remove 4 screws on the base itself and 4 screws at the front. The 4 screws at the front are captive, and a couple of them will actually pry that base apart. So you undo them, then you need an actual spudger or pry tool just to pick the actual clips away, then you can lift that plate up. Once the plate is off, we are greeted with a large 96 watt-hour battery right along the front. We also have 2 upgradable DDR5 slots that are covered but easily accessible. Dell provide the new faster 6400 RAM as standard, so good work there, Dell. Also, we get 3 M.2 slots, with the primary slot being a Gen 5, and Dell even allow you to configure a Gen 5 drive with this model with incredible reads and writes, and it's not an expensive upgrade, so I definitely recommend you do it. You can also see the 4 fans that blow air through at the back and the side, but sadly, yet again, Dell has used an inverted motherboard, meaning if you want to clean the fans or repaste the CPU or GPU, you need to disassemble the entire laptop, and that's a real shame. But anyway, who cares about all that? How does it actually perform? Let's dig right in. Now, Dell only currently provides one CPU option, the beastly Intel Core Ultra 275HX. This is a 24-core CPU with 8 performance cores and 16 efficiency cores. It's an amazing CPU for both gaming and productivity, but wow, it really needs the wattage to stretch its legs. Now, fortunately, in this large laptop, it's not a problem. Running Geekbench 6 first, we can see some impressive single-core scores in line with other 275HX laptops. And when we move to the more intensive Cinebench R23 and R24, this is where we can see the cooling shine on this laptop itself. And then using the Cinebench R24 to test all of the actual profiles, we can see that the CPU is given up to 175 watts in the overdrive profile. But man, this one gets loud as it cranks the fans up to full. Now, fortunately, the quiet and the balance profiles came in at a pleasant 37 decibels while still providing great performance. There's also a performance mode, which does work the CPU a little harder, but I think most people will be happy with that balance mode, and I think that's the perfect profile for daily moderate work. Now, there is a little gripe here, and although Dell have used an unlocked processor, you cannot disable undervolting protection. So although I can adjust the multipliers, I cannot undervolt to squeeze a little bit of free extra performance from this CPU. I've no idea why Dell always seems to hide this BIOS setting. Now, switching over to the GPU side, and as I expected, this 18-inch handles the RTX 5080 like a champ. The RTX 5080 has 170 watt TGP with 16 gigabytes of GDDR7 memory. Dell have included Advanced Optimus, and it has a G-Sync panel when switched to the NVIDIA graphics. Now there's also a dedicated mux switch for those that don't want to deal with switchable graphics themselves. With regards to display outputs, in Optimus the Thunderbolt 5s use the Intel graphics and the NVIDIA card handles the HDMI port. But if you move it to that dedicated graphics mode via the command center, then the Thunderbolt 5 ports become connected to the actual 5080. Now this is going to please a lot of those who need DisplayPort for VR or G-Sync. TimeSpy gave us solid results from this laptop, and there's surprisingly little difference in performance between all these profiles. Even the silent profile scores really well. So let's fire up some games to see how well it performs. So we're going to start the games testing with a bit of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now I'm going to test all the profiles so we can see how each profile performs and how loud and hot they get. Now we're starting with the quiet performance profile, so you can see straight away we're going to get 50 odd watts on the actual CPU, and it seems to be about 100 odd watts with 99% usage on that GPU. So this is at 1600p, all high settings, no DLSS. So let's just quickly mute it. I want to just show you how quiet this is on the quiet mode. Let me take my mic and move it to the actual sound of the actual vents. Clicking for reference. So as you can see, in quiet mode, it is incredibly quiet, but we are capped, as I say, 50 on the actual CPU and about 100 odd on the GPU. So now let's move up to the balanced. Switch to balanced, back into the game, let's have a look. Right, so straight away we can see the wattage has gone up. We're now gone straight up to about 160 or 165 watts, 170, but only still using, at the moment, 50 odd watts on the actual CPU. Let's see how that changes. System is incredibly quiet so far. So we can hear the fans are now starting to ramp up. And as you can see though, the actual GPU is sitting nicely at about 175 watts. I have to excuse the play, it's hard to play and keep an eye on all the temperatures. Right, so quick listen to the actual decibel meter. So that's sitting at about 50 decibels. I'm going to put the actual microphone next to the actual grill again. Clicking sort of give you some sort of reference as to how loud that is. So this is probably where I'd mostly be using this, or performance mode. It is really comfortable to game on this, and I like that it is so quiet. I don't feel like I need noise cancelling headphones. So let's now pop it into performance mode. So the biggest problem I've got at the moment is I'm not really fully utilising the actual CPU, and we are in performance mode. So I'm going to whack it into overdrive, but I might need to find a more CPU heavy game. But as you can see, there's absolutely no problem pulling the watts from that GPU, and the temps, you know, we're at 80 on performance mode, we're not max fans, and we're like sitting at about 60s for the actual GPU, so it is very impressive. I'm going to load another game up, and then we can test the fan noise of overdrive. So you can see here as well, we're 171 and we were about 75 there. It's got no problems with the cross load on this system. And not even maxing out the fans. This is really quite comfortable. I'll test the fans in a second. So this is performance mode, 53 decibels. Let's let you hear what that sounds like. Clicking for reference. Right, now I'm just going to quickly put it into the OD mode so you can hear and see the temperatures on that one. Overdrive. Now the fans instantly crank up. But you can see we're using, yeah, here we go, like 175 watts on the GPU and 87 watts now. So this is quite a lot better. It's actually the fans, although it is louder, it's a bit of a whoosh. So it isn't bad. Let's just see how this overdrive sounds. This is pretty much max fans. And to give you an idea of what that sounds like. So it's actually pretty comfortable. So you're getting your proper like 280 crossload they're talking about quite comfortably with good temperatures. So you can see I've got mid 60s on the GPU and mid 70s on that CPU at over 5 gigahertz. So this is really impressive. And obviously being an 18-inch chassis, you kind of expect it, but having had some Alienwares before that ran quite hot, this is not the case. This is a very comfortable gaming experience. Right, so let's just see what the actual temps are like on the actual palm rest. So as you can see, really lukewarm It's very comfortable to leave your hands on here, and with this nice texture, it's a really comfortable laptop to actually game directly on the laptop itself, especially with this big screen. Now, as we get to the middle of the keyboard, 37 degrees, you can feel there's some warmth, but it's not hot, especially where your WASD keys are. As we move to the top, still really cool, because it's obviously drawing that cool air in through this grille. So overall, very comfortable to actually game on. Now let's look at the right grille near where your mouse hand is, if I can get that on there. There is some heat. Let's try and do that. 38 degrees if I get it right in the right spot. But when I'm gaming here, I'm not noticing any heat at all with this model. And on the left-hand side, to see if I can sort of get, you're talking about 38 again. Not that you have your hand this side, unless you're left-handed, but it's not hot by any means when you're actually gaming on this laptop with your mouse hand. So there we go, a really, really comfortable gaming experience. Really enjoy gaming on this laptop. Now, a quick mention on the Alienware Command Center. And if you've watched my previous Alienware videos and reviews, you know we have a love-hate relationship. It loves to be slow, and I hate it. That said, it's not been too bad this year. Opening it can be a little slow, but once inside, changing the profiles can be done on a system-wide or per-game basis, and that can also affect all the lighting effects too. It picked up my other Alienware peripherals as well, and I can change the muck switch within this software rather than BIOS. So as always, it's not my favourite software, but it gets you by. And in all honesty, with the performance button and the stealth mode button, I rarely use it. Moving to the battery life, and as usual, this was pretty poor. Think of this laptop as a mobile UPS. In our battery test of watching YouTube over Wi-Fi at 200 nits of brightness, changing it to 60 Hz, putting it in stealth mode and using the best efficiency mode to get the best out of it, we managed 4 hours and 50 minutes. If you do anything more remotely taxing than surfing the web, those times are going to plummet. But fortunately, performance on battery, as always with Intel, is fantastic. Now, the laptop does come with a chunky but well-designed 360 watt PSU with nice rounded edges. Unfortunately, the Thunderbolt 5 ports have 100 watt power delivery. Now, plugging it into my 100 watt 4K monitor, the laptop works really well. Peripherals and the screen instantly came alive, and the CPU performance was great. Sadly, the same cannot be said for gaming whilst on power delivery. It was a complete no-no, and actually felt worse than gaming on battery or integrated graphics. So that takes me through to my conclusion. And I have to be honest, I've been really impressed this year. It is incredibly expensive, I know it is, and it only has an IPS display, which I know a lot of people are moan about. But from an actual use and enjoyment, I have had a lot out of both from this laptop. Gaming on it is so incredibly comfortable, it's not loud, the screen was bright enough despite only being an IPS panel, and the temps on this laptop is amazing. So much better than anything Alienware has released for the last few years. If you put it in overdrive mode, you're getting great temps, and the fans, although loud, are just a pleasant whoosh. There's no whine. It's, even with that headset, I'm comfortable gaming in the overdrive mode. This is the first time in a long time I've wanted to move back to an Alienware from my personal gaming laptop. So that tells you just how good I think this laptop is. Now, as always, I'd love to know what you guys think. Pop your comments down below and I will get back to you. And lastly, thank you for watching.